Chapter 2 The Battle of Little Bighorn. History calls the Native Americans savages. It's horrible that history was rewritten to portray Native Americans as savages. As a history buff, I've read first-hand accounts of unbelievable hatred and murder on both sides. What stands out is how greed, lies, and betrayal was used more often in negotiations with natives than was honesty or fairness. When Europeans had created for themselves a reputation for murder, thievery, and deceit, it is no wonder at all that natives rose up in force again and again in hopes of driving the white man from their lands. If any of my ancestors were guilty of the worst of these crimes, it would be something I would have to bear in shame. May the spirits of all Native Americans find peace and prosperity when and whenever possible. That's my honest wish. Every culture that has been invaded or wiped out by invaders, given this term savages, not only defeated a modern army, but if the casualties they took are accurate, they overwhelmed Custer very quickly. The Indians were charging into rifle and pistol fire, so one would expect them to have lost twice as many as the cavalry, but that wasn't the case. Like many generals in the past, Custer underestimated his enemy. He got it wrong and put himself way beyond the help of Reno and Benson by going further north after his first attack on the village failed. Custer bit off way more than he could chew here and made several catastrophic tactical mistakes. First, he way underestimated the Indian numbers. Secondly, he way underestimated the firepower they had available to use against him. 3, his tactics were utterly wrong to fight the kind of warfare the Indians were using. We walloped the British during our Revolutionary War because we fought using tactics that their army was not designed to counter. Current U.S. Army infantry doctrine dictates that, ideally, you should have 2 to 3 times numerical superiority in the number of your forces. He was outnumbered. A modern U.S. Army infantry would have made light work of this battle. That is because the technology we have in terms of weapons was so vastly superior to what the Indians had back then. On an even playing field, this battle was a massacre waiting to happen, and it did. Indian accounts say there was a long pause while they slowly surrounded him, and there was time for him to escape, but instead he rode to his death. It wasn't inexplicable why Custer lost. The Lakota force was much larger than the 7th Cavalry thought. That, and Custer thought the Lakota would try to flee instead of fight. Custer lost because he severely underestimated the natives. He was looking for personal glory rather than heeding the advice of his scouts.